Hi, welcome everybody. If you don't mind, please introduce yourselves in the chat and share where you're from. Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and get it started. Welcome and good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this parent advocacy training. My name is Sadie Becknell, and I'm the Government Affairs Director and General Counsel at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. At the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, we're a nonpartisan, nonprofit, independent source of research, data, and information for policymakers and stakeholders on issues related to early care and education for young children birth to 4 years of age in Louisiana. This particular event is part of Louisiana's Early Ed Month, which is a month-long series of events to raise awareness about the critical issues surrounding early care and education that impact children, parents, and caregivers in our state. Today's training is co-hosted in partnership with Louisiana Policy Institute and Save the Children Action Network, two statewide organizations who are committed and diligently working for the betterment of Louisiana and its children. We are co-hosting several events throughout this month and have invited elected officials and business leaders to learn about the importance of increased investment in our young children. And today, we are thrilled to bring all of you together to learn how to best be advocates for your children and the other children in our state. And so with that being said, I'm delighted to introduce our host for this evening, Crystal Ellis, who is the state manager of Save the Children Action Network, also affectionately known as SCAN. SCAN is a political advocacy arm of Save the Children. They work across the U.S. to ensure that the issues critical to the children's lives and futures are given top priority by our elected leaders. And so without further ado, Crystal, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sadie, and good evening to all. Focusing advocacy efforts on the lived experiences of families creates lasting change. So thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this evening to learn more about how you can utilize your voice to draw awareness to issues impacting kids in the early education space. As parents, life is busy enough. It's difficult to find time to balance the things that matter to us with the things that matter most to us. My hope is that this evening we discover ways to do just that based on our individual schedules. I will apologize in advance should you hear one of my dogs or my children. Like yourselves, I am a caregiver as well. So let's dive in. Victoria. Parenting Advocacy 101. What is advocacy? Next slide. Advocacy is actions that aim to change attitudes, policies, and practice. We advocate through campaigns. A campaign is an organized movement with coordinated activities designed to influence, targets, and achieve policy goals. At SCAN, we advocate through federal campaigns and state and electoral campaigns. Sadie, if you don't mind, will you drop in the chat how those that are in attendance can locate who their state and federal legislators are, please?
Sure.
Thank you. So how can you fit advocacy into your busy schedule as a parent? Tonight, we're going to discuss advocacy tactics and ways that you can engage your legislators. So we'll start with what I call 3-minute advocacy. What we can do in a matter of 3 minutes to impact lives of children. First is engage friends and family. If you can think of 5 people that you know that have common interests, the easiest way to spread awareness is talk to those people about the things that are important to you. Second is social media. It takes but a second to either share a post or create a post drawing awareness to the issues that matter to you most. Third is the least favorite of mine and most, but that is to respond to action alerts. So action alerts are those things that you get either via text or email that sometimes are often overlooked. I want to specifically draw your attention to these action alerts because most organizations make it really, really simple for you to engage legislators by setting it up for you. So when it comes to you via text or email, you can click on a link and within a matter of seconds, you're able to contact your legislator on behalf of whatever your concern is. Thank you, Sadie. Victoria, next slide, please. What we call 30-minute advocacy. One way that you can engage legislators is through the simple process of sending postcards. We're in the middle of a Have a Heart campaign where we are engaging legislators through postcards, asking them to have a heart for children. When we ask that they're having a heart for children, we're asking them to invest in children and prioritize policy that impacts children. Another opt for a 30-minute advocacy is tabling. Tabling is when you volunteer your time to represent an organization and amplify early education priorities. Or you can host an event. How do you host an event? You get your friends and your family together and take action. Scheduled advocacy. Scheduling advocacy is scheduling meetings with legislators, stakeholders, policymakers, and people that are in positions to make impact through decision making. Letters to editors. I don't know if you've ever opened up your newspaper or a media online where you've seen letters to editors where people write into the media and express their concerns and or opinions on different matters. And partnership. Partnership is attending advocacy events to connect with other advocates. Participate in lobby days, which is a great opportunity to engage legislators, share testimony, and gain media exposure. The most impactful part of advocacy is storytelling, which is how you connect to the particular issue. So let's take a moment to drop in the chat how you are connected to early childhood education issues. What is your why? Why is early childhood education important to you? I don't see anything in the chat. Does anyone want to come off mute and share?
Good evening, all. My name is Tia Fields. I'm an outreach community coordinator with One Rouge Coalitions. But outside of just being a community advocate, I'm a parent myself, a former child therapist in the special education realm. And early childhood education is important to me because it is the foundation of how we set our children up for success.
Hi, my name is Daniela. I'm an early childhood bilingual specialist. I work and advocate mostly for the Hispanic community as a translator, as a communicator for the Hispanic and Latino community. And it is just important to get the word out for all the children from birth to 5 to get the early education that they need, not just for school, but for also for their futures and their preparation just in after they go to pre-K, elementary school, just be there and advocate for all the children.
Crystal, you're on mute.
I apologize. Okay, I see a few that are in the chat. Jasmine says that she wants her almost 3-year-old daughter to be prepared for school. Cynthia says that early ed provides the foundation for success and future learning. Early education improves safety and futures. The PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality, enhance the opportunity for all children to succeed, and early childhood education sets them on the road to success. Deborah says, I work as an access coordinator for our youngest learners, where we work to ensure that all children have access to high quality care. Elizabeth says, help little ones have the best quality early education. And then Tia, I'll reiterate that you are a parent, a formal child therapist in the special ed space, and early childhood education is important to you, for it is the foundation for educational growth and life development, which is absolutely true. So my next question would be, in the different tactics that we discussed, 3-minute advocacy, 30-minute advocacy, and scheduled advocacy, what do you find to be the most convenient in your individual schedules? You can either come off mute or announce in the chat.
So as an early childhood specialist, I apply all of them. I work in Jefferson Parish, Jefferson Ready Start Network, and we communicate with the families all the time, even if it's just 3 minutes over phone calls. We share, we respond to all the action alerts that are sent to us. We will host events. Well, we have upcoming events that we have for Jefferson Parish family engagement. And there are meetings, there are partnerships, and there are a lot of things that we do just to make sure that all these children are getting the high quality early education.
Anyone else? Anna says, I use all of them, whatever is necessary and most effective for the ask, which is the key point. How do you all incorporate your own personal narratives into the actions? Tia, you care to share?
For me, I use it as a tool to make a connection with the parents, but I also like to speak from a place from a therapist perspective when I'm dealing with other organizations or government officials. But I think for the most part, it's just being relatable by sharing the different experiences depending on what the topic on children's education is. We've had various different ones, especially with working in the special education realm, of the importance of screening and learning how to advocate for your child if you feel like there's a developmental delay, or even if you feel like the teacher or school system is not supporting your child the best, being able to encourage other parents to speak up and ask questions and to become more active in the school system.
Anyone else care to share? I'll give you my personal story. So I as a parent for the majority of my adulthood was a single struggling mother of 3. And when I had my 3rd child and got pregnant with her, I was on medication supporting some mental health concerns. But because I got pregnant, I had to come off medication because it was unhealthy to continue on it during my pregnancy. And during that time, while I was carrying my daughter, I went into a really deep depression and had to fight through that. So by the time I was ready to deliver her, I was in a space where I didn't know what was up and what was down. I had her in New Orleans, and in New Orleans at the time, access to health care, mental health care services was very limited. They filtered most of the appointments through one central location, and they would schedule you for an assessment, and then they would do the assessment and schedule you for an appointment with the psychiatrist, which was like 3 to 6 months later from when you first went in for your assessment. So I remember at that time being younger, not necessarily young, with one on my hip, one in my hand, and a 10-year-old son, being overwhelmed with an influx of bills, not knowing how I would access nutritious meals for my children, not having support for child care services, and entering into this space where they were going to assess me and tell me what was wrong with me and how soon I needed to be seen. And as a parent who was struggling to feel heard and seen in that moment, it was a very pivotal moment for me because the person that was stationed to do my assessment looked at me and asked me a very simple question, which was, are your days like this every single day? And my response to that was yes. And I don't know what she saw in me in that moment, but I am absolutely grateful that she did, because she left me in the office and wouldn't allow me to leave until I was seen in that moment. And because she did, I was able to access the services that I need, and I felt supported. And what most people don't know is that months prior to this occurring, we had a situation in New Orleans where a young mother who was absolutely overwhelmed had disposed of her infant child in a river. And I share this with you to say that I have personally never considered doing something like that. But the moment that I walked into that office was probably the closest I've ever been to understanding somebody make that choice. So I find myself a decade later volunteer advocating with an organization called Save the Children Action Network. And in my volunteerism, I learned the importance of the policy work that goes into making legislative decisions that impact the programs that I needed help with, which would be mental health services, food security, and of course, early childhood education. And in doing so, I met and connected with a number of other parents and was able to share my story continuously and get them involved. And we ended up doing the work together, which led me to the position that I'm in as an employee with Save the Children. So I always say that when I'm sharing my story and why I advocate and why early childhood education is important to me, it's because I was the parent 10 or so years ago that absolutely needed those support systems in place and didn't know where to start. So being here today is really important to me because I can share with you guys the action steps and tactics that I utilize to amplify the concerns of early childhood education, and hopefully get your support in doing the same. So again, I'll ask, does anybody else want to share what their personal story is and why they connect to early childhood education and advocacy?
I personally was a very young mom. I had my child when I was 18 years old. I hadn't even finished high school at the time. After I got pregnant, I kind of took a break from school, and I was actually like probably 6 months pregnant when I decided to go back to school, and I went to an accelerated high school where I was able to graduate in a shorter amount of time. I had my baby. I graduated while I was with her. I really wanted to do something not just for myself, but also for my child. So a year after I had my baby, I was looking into having a job, something that was gonna help me and my daughter, and finding the assistance for my daughter was what actually got me the job that I have, which is also to help children in the early childhood. Now my daughter is also being served, by an early childhood center. So I am just very grateful to have the opportunity to be around everybody that is coming together for the same reason. And it's just to give, high quality care for the children because they need it, but us as moms, we also need that. And it's very important for us to have our children with good education because it's peace of mind for us as moms.
Thank you for sharing, Daniela. I think for me as a parent, now with my children being older and our schedules being so split with so much going on in our family, the 3-minute advocacy is always the easiest for me. It's very easy for me to identify 5 people that I can connect with on these issues, 5 people that have experienced things that I've experienced or are experiencing them in real time. Using social media has always been easy for me, whether it's a share or a post or just the opportunity to express my concerns in moms groups, on my personal platform and in other spaces. And then responding to the action alerts. They used to bother me as often as they came into my inbox. But now that I've been in a position to be able to learn the impact, it's really important to me to make sure that I'm not overlooking them and I'm taking the time out of my day to be able to click on the links and communicate with my legislators. Is there anyone that prefers the scheduled advocacy, which is the meetings with legislators, the LTs, the letters to the editor, or partnerships, attending meetings and convenings with other advocates that share your same concerns? Tia, you're waving. Anyone else? What
really
about?
like excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kayla.
I was going to say, I really like the opportunity to be able to attend sessions like this or come to meetings and work and partner and learn about the groups in our state. The support part is very important. PTA is a big legislative background. They're having their national legislative conference here in March up in DC. So to be able to translate what they're doing up there with national PTA down to here and getting to work with you all is really important for us here at LAPTA.
Kayla, I did want to point out, I don't even know if you noticed as we were running through our slides, one of those photos is a photo of Kayla, who I met at one of our partnership events. And so that is the benefit of attending convenings where other advocates are in the same space, because you get to meet people and build relationships and work collectively to amplify issues. And it was a great picture. Anyone else want to share? Okay, I want to offer the opportunity at this time for anyone that has questions on how to utilize any of these tactics, or if there's anything that you need for us to expound on. When you're choosing the right tactic, there are a few additional considerations, and that's: are you participating in a campaign? What are your goals? How do you see yourself, your family, or your community in this issue? And are you working with any partners? Are there any questions on what tactics to utilize, how to determine what tactics to utilize, or how to better utilize any of these tactics?
For me, I would say becoming more comfortable with storytelling. It is a way to be vulnerable, but want to make sure that when sharing personal experiences, that the message isn't getting lost in emotion. But I also feel like the emotion is what draws the connection. But I would like to see spaces where storytelling development is more often, or more offered more often. Did I say that right? Yes.
The reality is most of the people that are in decision-making authority aren't experiencing the same things that you are and haven't experienced the same things that you are. So it's super important for you to utilize storytelling, because then it gives them, they can see themselves or people that they know, friends and family that they love themselves in the issues. How can we better help you craft your story, Tia?
Just reading the questions of how do I see myself, my family, and community. A lot of times we're wearing a lot of different hats on many different topics. Um, it's kind of hard to tell the difference on how am I showing up. Am I showing up as Tia as the advocate? Am I showing up as Tia as the therapist? Am I showing up as Tia as the parent? And that dictates on how my message is going to be relayed and who I'm speaking to. I think just by listening to you tell your story on a personal level is giving me a level of confidence to share my story. And it's more so of a level of comfortability of sharing some of the harder things that has happened, my lived experiences when it comes to parenthood. So I think it's just, continue to be a part of these spaces that elevates the voice and encourages us to tell our story so that they can see the proximity to our whys. That's much.
Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have any questions? For those that are already working in the advocacy space, is there anything that you would point out or add to this conversation?
I'm just wondering, how is it going for you all? What's happening with Baton Rouge right now? That's what I'm curious. How do you feel they're supporting or not supporting you?
Sadie, do you want to chime in on some of the early childhood education policy issues? Is Sadie still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to chime in on some of the policy issues that we're currently facing with early childhood education?
Really, one of the main issues is to make sure that we maintained our funding for the child care assistance program seats. That's definitely one of the main focuses of this session.
And I don't know if everyone else has seen, but we did send out a huge a huge thank you, I'm sorry, to Governor Landry, because in his proposed executive budget, I believe the figure was 87 million, Sadie, if I'm correct, that he allocated towards early childhood education, which is not far off from what our ask will be, but it's a great start. Are there any additional questions? Daniela, what tactics are you utilizing as an advocate?
So we work through, our office. So we do a lot of family engagement. We do in-person sessions with families so that because we are directly enrolling children into centers or pre-K. So that's mainly what we do. We work with the child care assistance program. We work with different funding sources that just assist all the moms and parents in general to enroll their children in school. So we do in-person sessions, we do family events, we have our phones where people call us and ask for help, and we just advocate families and any sort that we can just help them to enroll their children in any type 3 center or school.
Any of the advocacy tactics that we discussed that you utilize?
So I would say social media is one of those that we do, and partnerships. We basically partner with the centers, and we, share whoever they have attending at centers that there are, let's say, on parent pay. They communicate with us if the families do need assistance, and if they qualify, we work with them. So we also do social media. Jefferson Verde Star Network, shares information on social media. And hosting events, like I told y'all, we have 2 upcoming family events here for Jefferson Parish, for the families to learn more about the center so that they feel comfortable bringing their children in. So definitely we use these tactics to advocate for the families.
Jasmine, you had shared that you want your almost 3-year-old daughter to be prepared for school. Are there any of these tactics that you are most comfortable with, or any that you want us to explain in greater depth about?
No.
Krista, I'm going to chime in here for a second.
Please.
Also, just some advice when we're advocating and things, just keep abreast of things. Constantly check out news articles and things like that. And I dropped in the chat how you can find your legislator. Befriend them, find out their interests, like form a relationship with them, and really keep your pulse on it. Also, that that link I dropped, legis.la.gov, is your friend. You can actually live stream committee meetings if you can't make it to the Capitol that day to keep up with it. A lot of times it'll provide you email addresses for the committees. If you're not able to personally attend, sometimes they allow you to send emails prior to. That will count as your testimony. It will, they have to post an agenda at least, I think, 7 days or so prior to the meeting. So you can also see the bills that they're gonna go over in committee. You can really use that website to your advantage to strengthen your advocacy tools. And it has the House and Senate, it has the committee makeup. For instance, when I mentioned about our funding is done through the state general budget. So we know, for one, those 2 bills go through House Appropriations and Senate Finance. So I would personally use that website and go to those committees, find out who's on the committee, see if your personal legislator is on that committee, reach out to them, and just really be strategic and plan and plot how you're gonna address certain things and use that to your benefit. But the legis.la.gov is really a one-stop shop. It tells you everything. And you can also find out from the little tab that's on the left-hand side, boards and commissions, because we have an early childhood care and education commission. We have an advisory council. You can look on those and see who's listed on those things, and you can reach out to those people, and they can also be your voices. And you can also attend those meetings. That's usually posted on the BESE website, which is bese.la.louisiana.gov, and I'll post that in the chat as well. And just really just keeping abreast of everything and paying attention to everything can really strengthen your advocacy. And it's even little simple things, because most people think it's just constant political talk. Hey, knowing your legislator has children and like coffee, and you ask about their kids. People don't ask them how they're doing a lot of times. So it's just building that rapport and using that relationship to help you advocate better.
Also know that the legislative.gov is available in a phone app as well that simplifies the process and makes it really easy for you to use. But those action alerts that we spoke of in the 3-minute advocacy, the organizations that are already operating in these spaces make it really easy to communicate with legislators with the click of a button. Sabrina's asking if we can go back to the slides with the tactics. Can we revisit that, please, Victoria? So the 3-minute advocacy was the engage friends and family, social media, and responding to action alerts. Sabrina, did you have any specific questions for those three?
Thank you for going back to this slide. I was just thinking about how to be a better advocate. So I work with Teach for America as our director of alumni strategy. I've been in Baton Rouge for going on 6 years now, working with Teach for America. So I've seen what's happened in schools as a teacher, school leader, and now working with the organization, coaching and training teachers and school leaders. But now that I've recently become a parent, I'm being faced with the issues that I was tackling actually coming into my personal life and my home life. And I'm trying to navigate, like, how am I on one end working to just combat the issues that are going on with education, but how do I navigate that in my home life? I do reside in Livingston Parish, and a lot of the work that I do is in Baton Rouge. And so, as Sadie was discussing, I clicked the link to the website. I looked at who my legislators are. So I'm thinking about how to not also forget that I need to navigate the system in Livingston Parish as well as in Baton Rouge because I actually reside here.
So the legislators are at the state level, so they would impact both parishes. But also, I would sign up for email alerts from the organizations that are working in early childhood education spaces. So because not only, you don't have to search for the information, it's easily accessible via legislative.gov, but we also make it really easy for you with the organizations. If you click onto any of their websites, you can typically find up-to-date information and ways that you can take action that are convenient to you. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
You want to go on to the next slide so we can revisit the 30-minute advocacy, which was like postcards, tabling, and hosting an event. Did anyone have any questions specific to either of those three? When you're signing up to tabling events, you can do that through any of the organizations that you follow. I would highly suggest that you follow SCAN because we are always looking for volunteers to get involved. And we send out email and text alerts. And we also have a Facebook group that you can join where we keep you abreast of all of our local events throughout the state. And hosting your own events if you need direction for any of those, either SCAN or LPIC. If you reach out to either of those organizations, we'd be happy to support you and give you some direction on how to get those started. The next slide was the scheduling scheduling meetings, letters to the editor, and partnership. Were there any specific questions on either of those three? Who knows how to write a letter to the editor, or who needs some more information on doing so?
And then to touch base on this, when writing letters to the editor, you want to make sure it's something that's going to catch their attention and relative to what's going on, and make sure it's not repetitive. So make sure we're engaging and not using canned language. So that's just something I thought of.
The best part of the letter to the editor is sharing your story, your personal story, because that's what evokes emotion and what sparks attention. And when you work with organizations, they typically, I know that we do at SCAN, we can provide a template for you to be able to customize, just like any of the action alerts or emails that we have. And we can help you craft those letters to the editor where you're putting a personalized touch on data that they need to be able to spread awareness to. Partnerships, you can join a coalition as an individual or as an organization. I know that there are a few people on this call that I'm already in partnership with through certain coalitions. Tia, you with One Rouge. Daniela, we are with an early literacy organization, a coalition through Teach for America. Sabine, I don't know, I think you said you were with Teach for America. I don't know if you are familiar with that coalition, but joining any of those coalitions really enhances our collective impact. through partnerships. So please, I encourage you to get involved. If you need more information, you're more than welcome to email myself, Sadie, or Victoria, any one of us on the call, and we'll help direct your efforts.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions or feedback or input?
What are some of the steps to go about starting a coalition, like coalition building?
That's focused on early childhood education?
Yes.
So I am a firm believer in not duplicating processes. Before I would start a coalition focused on early childhood education, I would get involved with one that is already operating in that space so that you can learn from and amplify what's already being done.
Thank you.
Ready Louisiana Coalition is one. Sadie can probably drop more information for that in the chat, please.
Yeah, I will put the link for Ready Louis, you said Ready LA, for that coalition in the link. And Ready Louisiana is for businesses and chambers and really business oriented. And then we have the Go For, which is a more broader coalition, which is more, it covers everything that Ready Louisiana doesn't. So I'll drop the link for both.
And Tia dropped One Rouge. They also have the Education to Career Coalition. I was at one of their meetings earlier, and one of their working groups is focused on early childhood education as well. Tia, if you don't mind dropping in your email or how one can get connected to that. I'm going to share information from Save the Children Action Network's website. We have an upcoming event on March 2nd being hosted here in Baton Rouge at the Executive Center from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., which will be an all-day training focused on the upcoming legislative session. We will have panel discussions, a keynote speech from State Representative Vanessa Caston-LaFleur, and multiple trainings, one being about storytelling. So Tia, I know that you're on the list to attend. I would encourage everyone else to join us as well. I'll drop that link now. If you haven't already registered, please do so. Thank you for sharing your contact information, Tia. Anybody else working in the advocacy space that wants to drop their contact information so that we can stay connected? So we got through this pretty early. I'm going to hand it back to Sadie and LPIC. I appreciate everyone for joining us. I hope that you found the information that we shared this evening useful. I'm putting my email in the chat as well. So if you want to reach out and learn anything more beyond or further this discussion, please do so.
On behalf of Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, I just would like to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to sit with us and learn about advocacy. As always, we're here to help. You can visit our website at policyinstitutela.org. We have a lot of great information. It also has an info email address on the website where you can submit questions if you have any more questions for us. There's a lot of great information. And so I just would like to thank y'all so much, because without y'all, there would be no need for us, because we're protecting the babies and really looking out, and everything we do is for the babies. So I just want to say thank you. We appreciate you, and we really look forward to working with a lot of you.
Thank you, everyone.